Welcome everyone. Welcome lovely ladies that have joined me today on this YouTube channel of Your True Self. I'm Deb Courtney from debcourtney.com, and today, as I've been doing over the past little while, speaking to some beautiful, amazing people that I've met along the way in my life, and I know that have so much to share from what they've been through. And I think this is a really great outlet for us to be able to do that, to see that, there are so many women that are forging ahead despite a lot of the journeys that have been taken along the way. And that's certainly one of the cases here for Laura Bailey, who's joining me today.
Hello, Deb.
Hello.
Hi.
So nice to have you.
It's lovely to see you. Nice to chat.
So yeah. So to Laura that we've got on today, I just thought I'll let you know a little bit about her, and you can also introduce because you know yourself better than anyone. But Laura is a beautiful friend of mine that I met again. I'm so lucky to have met all these amazing people living in Broome, and Laura is another soul that crossed my path while I was living up there. And we've also both, gone our separate ways from where we were. We both met together at our workplace, and, you just connect with someone straight away at times, and that you've kind of met some kindred spirit in your life. And Laura was one of those people, and I had to share an office with her, and that can be tricky sometimes, but we loved it. Maybe
we had a ball.
We had some good times and some good laughs, and so we do come from a similar background in the sense of what we've learned and what we've been trained. But we also know that there's so much to health and how to create, that well-being inside of us, and to keep achieving better health over our lifespan. So, thanks, Laura. You let me know a little bit about yourself, and share what you want to share as well.
Okay. Well, we never think our story is very interesting, and I think, okay, what are we going to talk about? I loved working with you too, and you were such a gracious soul. You taught me so much, going up to the Kimberley and working with the students, and you're a great mentor and role model for me. So I suppose that's a good place to begin the journey. So, or maybe slightly before that, I first came to meet you because I was living in Mandurah, working for a university, and I'd been there quite a long time. And I thought, I'm teaching students about Indigenous health, and I really want to just go and do it rather than talk about it. So I thought, let's just go and be a travel nurse. So I sort of packed the job in first, and then there was no work for a little while. So, so that's sort of like, it's just about taking the leap. And as we were talking about sort of embracing change, and I thought, oops, I should have really should have lined something up. But anyway, forged on and went down to Adelaide, and got down there and was with another fellow nurse, Sarah, and we tried to get jobs and was camping on the beach, and all our shifts kept getting cancelled. So we got our uniforms, we got our new, badges for nursing agency, and we kept having a sleep during the day, and then half an hour before our shift, it kept getting cancelled. And so I thought,
there's a sign.
I don't think I'm supposed to be in Adelaide. So we did what all good nurses should do, and we packed up and went to the Clare Valley on the wine tour instead, and had a great time. And then while we were there, we were both come from the university education sort of side, so we were both busy on our phones applying for more jobs. And I applied for one in Broome, and I thought, I haven't quite got the qualifications for this, but my daughter's there. I'd love to be up in Broome with her, so I'll just apply anyway. I applied. And got a phone call, and I think it was a Thursday in Adelaide, and it was the afternoon, and the lady from Notre Dame said, "Yes, come now. We need you right now." So I said, "Okay, I could be there," and joined Deb on Monday morning. So I flew back to Perth, packed up a house, flew out to Broome, and then I joined you. And your smiley face on Monday morning, I was like, barely catching my breath. It was so fun. And then you said, "Jump in. we're going to drive 4.5 hours to Derby, see some students. I was like, oh my goodness. And he said, don't worry, we'll get to know each other on the way.
And we did.
Yeah, and we did. It was hilarious, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So then we found we were sort of kindred spirits and that shared a lot of the same sort of duality of, health belief models, really, the medical model, but also the holistic model as well is very important to us.
Yeah.
So I feel that we shared a lot in common. And Broome, I think you'd agree, is a very special place of whether it's healing or whether, I'm not quite sure what it is about Broome.
Yeah, there's an energy there, something about it.
I can't put a finger on it, but it was a great place for me. And I, had a lovely time working with you. And I did some mental health in Nabolian, Strong Spirit, in the hospital there. So I had those 2 jobs going and loved it.
Yeah.
So then, but as with everything, change comes about. So my lovely adopted mum, Glad, was not well and she was palliative. So moved back down to Mandurah and got my old job back. And then I stayed in Mandurah for a little while. And then Natalie, who came to chat to you, our joint friend, she came to stay for a few days and said, why don't you start your own business? So I said, I don't know how to go about that. And she said, join the NICE program, which is, the NICE program where you could do a sort of a condensed business course for 3 weeks. And it's a government initiative to get people working for themselves. So I jumped in and did
programs, the New Enterprise Incentive Scheme. I actually did that probably over 20 years ago when I was setting up my undergarments for elderly and aged care business. Ones to stop, with continence problems and skin dermatitis problems that I was noticing working there. So, interesting course. So it's available to lots of people that do want to start their business, just so you know, folks.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. It's, if you haven't heard of it before, check it out, NEIS, just Google NEIS and check it out. And I didn't think I'd qualify. People don't join things because they didn't think they'd qualify. But working for unis, we're sort of on just short-term temporary contracts anyway. And I was just in the middle of a semester break, so obviously not getting paid. So I did qualify. So they said, there's a new course starts in 2 days. And I was like, okay, I'll jump on it. Jumped in.
Short turnaround for you, isn't it? Constant.
I just make a decision, just get on with it. So
sometimes
all of a sudden,
it's the best decision as well because you don't have time to think about all the pros and cons and what ifs and maybes and all of that. So sometimes a quick decision is really how you find, just go to that gut instinct.
Yes, just jump in and have a go.
Yeah.
And I really believe that's how I roll, I think. So, and I believe, I don't know whether it's luck or we make our own luck. I'm not quite sure what it is or where opportunity meets, give it a go. So I did the course and started up my own business, Creative Health Connections, because I really enjoyed elements of my job, like finding out what people need and then creating a course or a little curriculum around that. And being a visual learner myself, I love hands-on stuff. So up in Broome as well, I liked creating sort of scenarios or experiential learning.
Yes.
So anything that sort of showed things in a hands-on sort of way. And I had a bit of simulation experience from Murdoch. So I wanted to do more of that, I think. So my son Tom helped me do a website and I got a couple of gigs helping with some clinical skills for carers and nursing assistants. So there's lots of online courses, but not much hands-on stuff, getting the stethoscope out and positioning it carefully. And care assistants are getting asked to do more and more of the care.
They are.
And, dipping sticks in fake urine and all that sort of stuff, just so they could piece the puzzles together. What can they smell? What can they see? Do they notice the difference in their client's behaviour? And they're the carers who are with them all the time. So they are the best sort of barometer really of of somebody's health. So it's just giving them a little bit of confidence and things like that. And so I really enjoyed that, but, not enough to give up your, don't give up the day job. Don't give up the marking just yet. And then I was really admiring what my sons did. So they have been working in the veteran space. So they were buying vintage cars and raffling them for Plastics for a Cause. So they were purpose for profit sort of business. And then they were raising an awful lot of money. And they said there was one little niche thing that was missing, and that was like an free online platform that the veterans could go on. So they didn't need to drive anywhere and do a course because a lot of them were rural. A lot of them were isolated at home with PTSD. So they needed something that was their pace, in their space. And so I was having a walk on the beach with my son, Tom, and he said, you can do some content for it. And I said, oh, what do you want me to do? And he said, art therapy, mindfulness. And I was like, okay. So again, I just thought, let's change direction. Let's just jump in and have a go. And I rewrote it about 3 times and I thought, oh no, rip it up. That's no good. That's not good enough. And I didn't read, there's no scope for it. There was nothing for me to follow, which I like, that creativity of just jumping in and having a go. And Cindy Mavis, who we both worked with, another lady who might come on the show. Don't you like how we're just doing the lead into each other?
It's brilliant.
So Cindy helped me with we're segueing. So Cindy helped me with the trauma-informed care and the sort of, the putting things together, which I'm quite scattered and creative, and Cindy's wonderful. She's very logical and she can put things into perspective. And I did it that many times. And in the end, Cindy said, just tell your story. Just do lived experience when you're talking about mental health. Instead of trying to compartmentalize it, you just have to be raw and honest and talk about yourself. So I said, okay, I'll just take a deep breath. And so I filmed it. I had a videographer come and he videoed it in the house. So did a little bit on the sofa about me and then linking it to a couple of strategies, I suppose, but from a holistic point of view. And then I did a short meditation on the sofa and then did the art over at the kitchen table. So it was just as we were going into lockdown and, the start of the whole COVID and all that. So it made it even more relevant to get something out there for the veterans that they could do at home, especially as they were becoming even more isolated.
And that isolation, that is, I spoke to Natalie about this as well. We are designed to be together as humans and sharing that energy, and especially in person, and that actually what lifts our well-being and our immune system. So being in that isolation, not only are they already having perhaps the mental health issues, we're delving them deeper into that mental health space, and it's harder to get them out. So something like that's brilliant.
Yes. So it started off with the art therapy, and then we filmed it the first time and it didn't go very well at all. The videographer had a few angry emojis and things whenever the word trauma came up and was like, no, we're going to scrap that and start again.
So I want to encourage that.
It was a lot of trial and error, but in the end, we sort of came up with something. And people say if you don't cringe at the first thing you've done, you've left it too late. So I was quite reassured by that and thought, really, something's better than nothing. So let's just jump in and give it a go. And then we did mindfulness and yoga. So I didn't do the yoga. We had a trauma therapist and yoga instructor, and Jess. So she came, and I think we've got over 100 hours of yoga on the platform now.
Wow.
It's veteran specific, so it's all levels from chair yoga to vinyasa flow. So there's every level and every age group's catered for.
That's fantastic.
And yes, and then we got a photographer to do a photography course, and he did it mindful photography, and he went through processes and how things work and why it's so important. We can take pictures and they can connect us to nature. And then we've just done a recent one, a second course, photography course, and that's with a veteran. So a veteran put his hand up and said he'd like to do it. So I said, okay, come up to Brisbane, you can stay with me. And he did stay with me, and we pulled this course together in a sort of a creative way, like just, getting out in nature. And he was wonderful. And then he got locked down. So we had he had an extended break because he got locked down. So all the time we were working on photo editing and capturing the moment and how to give people the chance to go out and capture images of anything. So again, that's about that being mindful and in the moment, really. And we did 30 days of mindfulness. So we do some challenges as well. So over Christmas, I woke up in the middle of the night thinking, I know what we need to do is, starting from January the 1st, 10 minutes a day, mindfulness, just a little audio with, videographer will put something nice images and music behind, and I'll just make up 30 topics, connectedness, anger, oh goodness, compassion. I just thought of words that came up and just made something up and did some breathing and things. And then because it was in like a package of 30 days, and it was on January 1st, we did a little bit of health belief models and things leading up from Christmas to January 3rd.
Yeah.
Just sort of, stages of readiness, whether they were whereabouts on the ladder they were sort of, pre-contemplative, contemplative, whether they wanted to start something new and the benefits of starting something new and what if they didn't start, what was the sort of the health threats. So not just with mindfulness, but just trying to get people in that mindset of thinking how would they look after their health in the new year. And that was a phenomenal success. Everybody jumped on and they just took 8 to 10 minutes for themselves a day. And that calmed a lot of their symptoms down. And then they would think, okay, well, if that's helped me be in the moment and helped me with my anxiety or lifted me a little bit out of the depression just for a few minutes a day, well, maybe there's something to this. And we've got a Facebook group as well. So it's a closed veteran mindfulness Facebook group. And
we can put a link in the comments below too for that Facebook group.
Well, it's only for the veterans.
So someone can share it though, couldn't they, with someone they know?
Right. Yes. So any veterans, it's free for all veterans. But the Instagram is public. So we just post mindfulness things just to remind people, just a few little mindfulness quotes and things like that.
Yeah.
But I find, for me, transitioning from working, so I'm sure you'll feel this as well, from working from somebody to working in something like this where the money is not really the thing. There is no sort of set amount of money. It's more.
You're doing it for your passion and purpose. Like for me, it's like a passion and purpose, and that is that outlet of thinking. There is something quite grand about the grander scale of things and the bigger picture of it all, where it can lead, and being that small speck that can actually ripple out that change in people and embracing the change, allowing people to figure out how to embrace that change, because some of us are better at change and can adapt, and some really it's a scary thing. And so to be able to, and for various reasons, and maybe it is like trauma based that they've been through, and they're just wanting to find that little area of safety and security, and then if they go outside of that zone in any way, whether it be metaphorical, it doesn't feel safe anymore. So you want people to be able to feel safe with anything that they do, and knowing that, like, jump in 2 days later, I'm in somewhere else, but know that it will work out, like it is supposed to work out for them, like the universe is supposed to support them. But sometimes it doesn't feel that way. Days aren't always perfect. Days can be shit sometimes, but allowing for that time to and absorb it and then allow it to go. again.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. So sit with that, and that's okay. You know, we don't have to be smiley faced every day. And that's the sort of the growth mindset of, you know, the universe will look after me. And I was like, but will it? You know, will it? And it has, because I've just allowed myself to go with the flow of things. And, you know, now the children are grown up and they're all doing their own thing, it's of course easier to do that. You know, you can't just take off on a whim when you've got kids and things like that. That's a little bit harder. You can, but yeah. But just that whole supporting people to sort of be the best version of themselves that they can be, and to know that they're worth it, because I feel we're our own biggest roadblocks, really.
Yes, we are.
We decide where our limits are, and actually, you know, it's self-imposed limits, really. And some of the veterans have done wonderful things. They've gone on to start their own businesses, and they've stopped living there. You know, the labels they've put on themselves and thought, this is only where I can go. One of our lovely veterans did some equine therapy, and then she went off and got accredited. So now she's doing wonderful things. PTSD Dogs Australia, lovely couple with a veteran. Roger's wife had sort of secondary PTSD from being anxious and walking on eggshells with his illness. So now they started up PTSD Dogs Australia, and what I love about them is they rescue dogs from the pound and train them to be compassion dogs and more.
Wow.
There's several levels of training. So I love that they're rescuing dogs to rescue people, I think is their motto. Rescue dogs to rescue people, which is, so these amazing veterans are doing fantastic things. And Bruce, who came up to do the course for us, you know, he had his own struggles, yet he put those aside because he knew that what he's got to offer, 30 years of experience, will benefit the other veterans like it has given him the creative outlet.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just wonderful to be in this space where people are helping people with no expectations, but then it turns into something amazing. So, yeah, you must find that with your work too.
Yeah, just being able to, you're right, seeing other people, you know, walking away glowing, you know, from what they've been through from beforehand, and knowing that they are still going to, you know, none of us are perfect. We do still have those days where we have our downs, but being able to see through that and knowing that that's not a long-lasting moment. It is a moment, and that you can walk through it, and that there are still other people that will help you get through those downs, and that you don't necessarily have to do it alone. You know, there's people out there that can get other people through it. And, you know, the veterans, I think, notoriously have been a little bit left behind.
Yes.
And I think certainly the, correct me if I'm wrong, the ones that have gone through more the Vietnam era of veterans, and even maybe the Gulf War themselves, where we have a lot of respect for those that perhaps went to the First and Second World War, and they seem to be held up more on a pedestal than those that have actually gone through other traumas of the different era of...
No matter where they've been, even vicarious trauma, even people working, supporting in the supporting role. So, you know, it's not only the veterans, but it's their families, and it doesn't seem to be one sort of category more than others. It just seems to be across the board, and it's that sort of that the transition is very difficult for them, I feel, and they're not always they're part of a big family, and then when they're not, especially when they've been in for 25 years and no longer part of that family, there's a real sadness. Because they're no longer part of that family, and it's been a way of life and a way of being for so long. And it's that, you know, you're perfect. The message that I'm trying to get across is, I think for me, is, you know, you're perfect just the way you are, and connecting to yourself first and foremost, and others, and where you live or nature. I think, you know, it's just those three simple messages really of connection and that sense of I'm fine with exactly who I am, and I'll build on I'll build on the rest of that.
Yeah, you've got the foundations. It's the foundations that you can build on. It's not about, moving into a brand new house. You've got the house already and the foundation. I'm bouncing because I look like I'm sitting on one of those.
One of those balls, aren't you?
Rather than moving to a new house, you've got the right shell, you've got the right foundations, but there's always room for improvement for, even moving into your own house. You always notice little things that you can change and alter that might make it a bit better, a bit more comfortable, a bit more luxurious, whatever. But the foundations are always there, and that's what you're building on.
That's right, yes. And also accepting your vulnerability and being okay with it. Like Brene Brown sort of does some great stuff. We love Brene Brown. She does some great stuff on vulnerability and it being the precursor to connectiveness.
Yeah.
So without accepting our own vulnerability, we can't connect to ourselves or others. And once we become okay with that and see it as a strength rather than, I won't say weakness, the opposite of strength, as something
the other stuff.
The other stuff. But I feel that is, a great place to start with, just sort of, and I think that's what the Facebook group, people post their artwork that they've done, and then somebody, lots of people say lots of nice comments about it, and then they say, oh, I didn't think it was that good. And it's not the fact that it's good or bad or in the middle, it's the fact that you've actually sat down and made a start and
been brave enough to share it.
And being brave enough to share it. So
good or bad.
Yeah, good or bad. And then everybody's really, I said, I'm not an art therapist. I'm somebody who cares, and I'm a registered nurse. I've worked a little, I sort of told them who I was, but my best gift that I could bring to the platform was I wasn't a veteran either, but that I have walked some of their path, having sort of a previous anxiety and depression and mental health labels. So that sort of that path, that shared path, so that I could sort of say, I haven't walked your exact path, but I can see how you are, see where you are some of the way.
Yeah.
And, going back to the sort of the monetary side of it, I remember saying a little while ago, like, the best thing I've got from being part of this is it's been the best therapy ever. Because if you share your story and you're there for other people, it can't help but help you, no matter on what level you're doing it. So in helping others, it always pays you back tenfold.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I know you've been experienced in that as well.
Yeah.
So it's been.
I think we can't help ourselves sometimes, helping others, but it's in our nature.
Right.
But I think it is a bit of a nature thing, and probably more. I've got a very helpful husband that loves helping people too. But we as women are nurturers, and that's our innate kind of being, is to nurture. I think that for us, we're nurturers, and we do like to help people. But the problem is sometimes people don't want to be helped, and that's something that we need to be able to accept and allow, and everyone has free will. If we could help the world, we would, but we can't, and we can only start with a few people at a time. And
people have to be ready for it. They just, it's just a timing thing with some people. You don't always know what you don't know. But sometimes if people trust you, and we've found this with our patients, if you build that rapport with them and they trust you, they think, and I find this in the veteran community, they don't always trust me at first. They don't know me. We're trying to communicate through an online platform. But the thing is for them not to trust me, it's to trust themselves. And then once they start trusting themselves a little bit and the community that they're in, I've noticed some of them grow immensely, and it really does feel like a family. I call them my veteran mindfulness family now, because it really does feel like that. And just recently, it's been a crazy year so far.
We're in July, can you believe it?
It's been a crazy year. Not just for me, but for everybody, I think. I was looking after my darling Gladys, and I looked after her, and she passed at home. So that was in February. And then I decided, okay, I can just go and live in Brisbane now. And so I rented out my house again. I just thought this opportunity came up, and the boys said, look, this is growing, and I said, well, I'll come over there then. And so packed up the house again. And I decided to have a little stint in Broome with my daughter. And I thought my two boys are in Brisbane. And we've got this lovely business that we work in together. So I'll go over there. Sold everything. Talking about trust, I thought, well, if I store stuff, the mice will eat it or whatever. So sold a house full of furniture and just had one box packed up of favourite stuff and my children's photos. My friend's looking after those in her wardrobe. Apart from that, just came with suitcases and my little car. And so quite refreshing just to completely start all over again. And it gives you haven't got the ties of physical stuff. And I've got a sort of like a busy ADHD mind. So I feel like the more stuff I have to look after, the more stuff I have to worry about where it is and everything. So it's nice to just be able to move and this chair. I've got this off buy and sell pages. I've got a few little bits and bobs that I need, but it's fairly minimalistic, and I feel that gives more room for creativity as well.
And I think that's there's always that issue that people might have in hoarding, and often that's that there's something that they want to hold on to, and things represent whatever it may be. So if you can actually, I think decluttering, and I'm a queen of decluttering. But it's just I can't function in a cluttered environment. But being able to give away some of that stuff is allowing us to detach from certain things, perhaps from our past, because often that past isn't necessarily serving us, and we want to be able to move forward into the future. But if you've always got that one foot in the past, it's very hard to take that next step forward, because you're kind of a foot in both places. So
that's right. And I thought to really wholeheartedly give Brisbane a chance, if I had stuff in storage and I was thinking, I've got stuff here, there and everywhere, it would be like having a foot in each camp. So I thought, no, I'm just going to sell everything and really give it a good go. And so far, and since I got here, it's been fantastic. The boys have been so supportive, and I've got this fantastic workspace, which is there's art everywhere. We share an office with Steen Jones, and he's this amazing graffiti artist, and he's got massive mandalas and beautiful artwork that complements the vintage cars. We've always got an interesting car parked. So it's such a buzzy, and there's music going, and it just helps you create. So again, whether you're doing it from a home office or a little space at home or a workplace, if you have art around you, it helps you create more. I think it gets you into that mind space of, you didn't even do the art, but just looking at Steen's art, it makes me feel like anything's possible.
I think we also with the idea of creativity, and so many, you hear it from so many, and we've probably said it ourselves, you probably haven't because you are but so creative, like I'm not very creative. But we forget that even as women and as mums, we have to be quite creative. We don't really, we associate creativity with a paintbrush in your hand or a coloured pencil. But the creativity is creating a business like you have from what seems like nowhere, or creating a menu every night for people that you have to feed every night, or finding ways to encourage and create ways of getting them to eat while you are cooking. That's all creativity, and I think we need to allow that it's not just about someone with a paintbrush in their hand.
Oh no, that's right.
But there's a connection but using that hand, and that's probably where they the veterans are finding with the art therapy or the cameras, that using that hand and that mind-hand connection that creates a different neural pathway.
Yes, and it's bringing them to the moment. So it's not about, we haven't got the past anymore. The past is the past. Can't do anything about that. We can change our mindset about how we think about the past and the future. We haven't got, it's not there yet, and it's quite uncertain. So we've really just got this moment. So if we can focus on that, how we're feeling, connecting to the senses. I've got a nice smelly candle going, and that makes me feel sort of quite relaxed. And feel where you're sitting in the chair and how you're breathing, connect to your breath. So all those things, we've got the ability to do that. And then once we think, oh yeah, okay, I'm here, I'm grounded to this moment, then it allows us to stop that rumination of what about this, what about that, what if this, what happened then? And it just brings us to the moment. And people say, oh, what is mindfulness? And it can be anything. It can be doing the dishes, but just feeling the water and watching the bubbles and smelling the lemon scent or whatever the bubbles are, and just connecting to all those senses. So you can live mindfully, or you can just go at 100 miles an hour like I was doing. And I found I'm better, and I can think more clearly now. I've slowed down a little bit.
And it's allowing you to get back into your parasympathetic, and then we know that our health is better in a parasympathetic state. We know that because we're also getting better blood flow to our organs as well in that state. So it doesn't have to be hours and hours of meditation or mind. 2
minutes, 10 minutes,
5 minutes,
whatever you can.
Maybe when you say, for mums, parking the car, letting the kids run into school, and if you've got that 10 minutes just to sit in the car without anything, or dropping them off at sporting, and rather than hurling off to the shops to get the food, give yourself that 10 minutes just quietly not doing anything, or
just breathe,
breathing.
Just and it can be a walking meditation. You can walk, but instead of thinking, what about this, what about that, what about after school, if you just think, I'm feeling the ground under my feet, I'm smelling the cut grass or the beach, and just really just thinking about what you've got in front of you and what you're experiencing. It's a great brain break, and it can really just center you, I think. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be anything complicated. Just taking, like what they say, take 10 deep breaths. And it can support your immune system, as you said. So it can help on so many different levels, reduce your blood pressure, can reduce your anxiety. It can help you sleep better. It can support you in so many different ways. You can connect to yourself a little bit more. And so there's so many benefits of mindfulness, but really you just get to know yourself a little bit better and ask yourself, what do I need? Where we can get, and I was definitely guilty of this, once that hypervigilance has been switched on, once you've experienced something, in childhood, for instance, where it's made you feel unsafe. So it's not what's happened to you, and there's no trauma that's bigger or less than anybody else's. It's that moment. Gabor Mate and Bessel van der Kolk sort of tell us that it's not what happens to you, it's the feeling of helplessness or weakness. And that is what comes back to us, and that's the trauma, because it stops us living our fullest life. We think, oh no, we can't go for a walk, or we can't do something that we're fearful of because it will bring up unpleasant sensations for us. But if we can just sort of think, well, why is that? It's a pattern we've learned, that the pattern keeps playing, and unless we question that pattern and we are vulnerable and we accept our vulnerability and we work with it, then we really just don't know how far we can take things. Because the sensations come up. Bessel van der Kolk says, our memories come back, trauma comes back rather, not as a a memory, but it's a feeling. So it's a feeling, so that sympathetic nervous system is switched on, and we feel the cortisol rushing round, and it becomes a little bit addictive because it makes us feel alive. So we need to sort of say, oh, there's that little old chestnut. Why is that playing? Because cortisol damages your body at every cellular level. So cardiovascular disease and every your gut health, at every single, your skin, everything. If you can get that under control and get into the parasympathetic, the rest and digest, then your body can repair. So I just love the word trauma.
It's totally true.
I can talk all day about trauma.
Well, there's a technique that we teach more for women, because we work, men work in peripheral, and they were the hunters, and that we're very focused. We seem to be able to take in a lot, but we actually can see all the minute details of things. That's why we can pick up with our babies that, the little changes in facial expressions and crying and stuff compared to that peripheral. So a little trick for women is to get back into that parasympathetic is by putting their arms right out as far as they can see, start here and work your way out until you can just see them in peripheral, and you're just sort of running your fingers up and down, wiggling them, but way out, and you're just really looking straight ahead, but to the point where you can just see your fingers wiggling. And to be able to do that, you're now in that peripheral vision, and it actually quietens the mind. You don't even try and turn your head. You find a spot and you pinpoint the spot, and then you just look at that spot until they're in there, and then you're just focusing on that spot and those fingers, and that brings you back into that parasympathetic state.
Oh, it's a good one. I like
it. That's a great little technique, and it doesn't take long at all, to do that. Just a couple of minutes and you're back into that state again.
Yes, you're grounded again.
Yeah.
And Cindy talks a lot about that. Our friend Cindy says, the feminine energy is about connecting and community and supporting other women, supporting them in what they do. So that's a sort of, rather than that linear masculine energy, which, it's big structures like, all our big structures, the hospitals and things like that, and the health system is on a sort of a linear, this is the track we're on, where sort of the feminine energy comes from more an intuitive, holistic model. So, it's just interesting. Some of she'll come on and tell you.
Fascinating. Can't wait to have a chat with her about that, because that's, obviously the area for me, working with women and allowing that trauma to be gone without that reliving. And like you said, that it's that emotion that they feel. And so you don't want to keep reliving that when you're going through a healing process, because you're kind of just reassigning that trauma. So it's about going through a process that isn't re-traumatizing, yet eradicating that emotion that's attached and that perception that's attached to that trauma.
Yes, and that's what we found with the veterans. Sort of on all the research I did, it's more now that talk therapy is great, and is the art therapy is linked to psychology program as well. So we have to have that duty of care.
Yep.
Because as people are doing art and we're asking them to do different things at home, they need that support network of knowing there's somebody at the end of the phone, so that if things come up for them, because trauma is stored in the right side of the brain along with creativity. So just by painting and having a go, you're not necessarily painting anything in particular. It's just we're coming from our unconscious side. So that's where things can be stored. So you can get quite tearful at a watercolor painting, and it's just the sensations and things that are going on. So that's really powerful to ask people to do any type of art, or it can be dot painting or things that are working through trauma without the words, without having to reverbalize everything. Because sometimes our trauma hasn't got any words. It is just trapped in our cells at a DNA level, and it's trapped in our muscles. So if we can move and, with yoga, some stretches and things, the next thing we want to do is dance therapy and music therapy. So you can shake off the cortisol and you can connect with your body just by moving, but not to a certain beat, just mindful moving, however it feels good to you. And again, what better place to do that at home where you feel safe and secure? And
well, I've always loved dancing, and I think I said the other day on one of my videos that I actually thought I would be a dancing teacher when I was little. Like, I love dancing. I'm not saying I'm good at it, but I do know that I used to be quite self-conscious about dancing. But since I've gone through my creatrix process, couldn't give a rat's. I'm out there, I don't need a drink to get on the dance floor. And who cares? Like, it's just because it just feels good, and the going to the music and to the beat and just embracing all of that just feels good. So I really don't care what people think. I could be ridiculous on the dance floor. It doesn't matter. It doesn't bother me.
Isn't it funny that we have to get to a certain age and go through a certain amount of experiences to get to this wonderful spot where we think, wow, we're so comfortable with ourselves now. Like, we could have saved ourselves such a lot of angst and drama and that negative self-talk, where now, it's just lovely to be able to be us and be comfortable in our own skin. God,
I wish we had been able to do that when we were teenagers, but here we are now, and thank goodness it happened at some point in our lives before we're dead.
That's right. At least we got there in the end.
And it's not an end journey, like, it's not an end, but we are.
That's right.
We're still going, but we know that we're in such a better space, and you're in such an amazing space. And
I feel like I'm just starting out. People talk about retirement, I'm late 50s. I can't even remember how old I am. 57 or 58? 57, I think. Nearly 58. Right. So I feel like I'm just starting now, this journey, and people are talking about retirement and pension funds and things like I've just begun, this. I feel I've got a few good years, 20 or 30 years of working or doing something. When you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work anyway. It just feels like
you could do it till the end. You really could. I mean, it is something that you love. You could do it to the end. And then, in fact, your end is probably put off because you are doing something that you love. It gives you that purpose of getting out of bed each day. And I think when you've lost your purpose, it makes it very difficult. And that's when our world can sort of fall apart a bit, and our health can fall apart as well. So having that purpose just gets you through and keeps you going, and you can have a longer, more thriving life for longer.
Yeah. Well, since I came here and I love it, my son, who lives just upstairs,
not in heaven, just upstairs, really.
I'm on the 1st floor, he's on the 17th. He has just announced the other day that they're having a baby. So I burst into tears and said, "This is why I'm meant to be here," So I'm very excited. So I've got little Oliver in Broome, and now I'm going to have a little Brisbane baby as well. So
congratulations!
Honestly, I'm so excited, and I feel like that sense of belonging that I'm meant to be here. That's great.
Well, that's wonderful. And you thought you didn't have anything to share. Silly.
Well,
what can I say?
Well, it's been lovely to talk to you, and it's been really nice to reconnect. It's great to see you looking so well, and your family's all settled in Perth now. So,
embracing the change. You have to
embracing the change. That's right.
Otherwise, you could live. I just think the moves that we've had, and some places we've been about, how could you even like that? Well, if you're going to be there, you may as well make the most of it and enjoy it. So, and thank goodness we did, because we've met so many amazing, wonderful people along the way that if we had have, really not embraced it, good Lord, we would have missed so many great moments, great people and great experiences. So
yeah.
So have got a lot to share in your story. You know, you've only covered a small bit, I know. Because you know, you're full of, we've talked for hours on all sorts of things. There's nothing like a road trip to Derby to find out.
There's nothing like a 4-hour road trip either way.
I've found out so much about so many people when I've taken them on my little drives. Cindy's for one. Becca, who I've had on, we found out a lot about each other and some other people. It's a great space to share. So, and I'm going to make sure that we get those links to be able to put into the comments so that people can access what you're doing and that amazing stuff, your website and all of that. So we'll be able to click to that. And
thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you so much.
I know so many people will relate, and so many veterans will be also so grateful that you're out there helping them.
Yes, well, I'm grateful that they have me around. It's great. Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. So, folks, if you do know anyone that would benefit from, you know, all the amazing stuff that Laura's doing, please share that, because you may have, and it doesn't have to be a father or what. There's so many women that have been involved, and as you said, you know, the partners of people as well, male or female, you know, that they're going to benefit from this. And obviously, if there's anyone that you want to share this with, that'd be great. Like and subscribe. I do also have a private Facebook page, Discovery of Your True Self, that you can come onto. It is only for women, and it is, you know, there are some questions there to answer, because we want people to feel safe, like you do in your Facebook group. We want people to be able to share and feel safe and open up in there. So please do join us if that's something that you'd like to do, or know of someone that you would like to include into that group. Then you can certainly invite them in as well. Just a couple of questions, because we know that there are bots out there and, you know, people that have sort of made up profiles that don't really exist, and we do want that safe space. So thank you for your time, everyone. Again, please like, subscribe, make some comments in there. Happy to respond to those, and I'm sure Laura will have any responses as well that she can add to that will be very valuable. Have a really great time, and thank you again, Laura. I love speaking to you, and it's so nice to connect again, even if it is over Zoom. One day we'll be able to give each other a hug again.
Well, now we've connected, we'll stay connected. Absolutely. And if anybody wants that link, it's info. If they wonder if they would like to join us, it's info@veteranmindfulness.com.au. Wonderful, good, and we will include that, so that's like a clickable link for people too. That'd be great. That's lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Bye. 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 Bye.